What's going on, boys and girls? It's Thrylos International. We are back after a fantastic 2-1 win. A little bit stressful at times, but a win nonetheless to keep Olympiacos in first place as we continue the season in 2025. Now, before we chat more about the game itself, I'm your host, Adi, and I'm here with Costa. Costa, how you doing, buddy?
Good, man. What a way to start 2025 with the first game at home. Win coming back from a goal deficit in injury time. Got lots to talk about, man. That was a thriller.
It was insane. And we're going to get into all of that, plus some special shout outs for the game today as well. But first and foremost, guys, don't forget while you're tuning in, a few dozen of you are already tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're tuning in for the first time, subscribe if you like what you hear. Every engagement we get helps us continue to grow the red and white community. We're growing on all platforms. We're getting some growth on X. We broke 12K on Instagram. I think it was a week ago. And, we're growing on Facebook as well. All the platforms are getting growth. People are finding us all over the place. And if we haven't said it before, we're on TikTok also. So check us out on TikTok. If you are over there, check out some of the videos that we post, some great videos that are done primarily by Costa here. So give him some love. Check those out. You can also support us on Patreon. Patron George C. actually predicted both goals from Bobby's Costulas at halftime. He said it's the Costula show, and Bobby was going to score before we knew he was getting subbed on, before anything else. If you want to chat about Olympiacos, there's a lot of great stuff that's coming, a lot of great content you can get on Patreon as well. Check it out at patreon.com/Thrylos7 International. That's a /, by the way. So check it out, and you can support us tiers at the moment, starting at $1 a month, and you can get in on the action there. Now, Costa, we also have to give a quick shout out as well before we do any post-match. We have to shout out, because we haven't gone live since the basketball game, Sasha Vesenkov for breaking an Olympiacos basketball record for points in a EuroLeague game, or was it just points in a game period?
I'm not sure if it's games in general, but definitely EuroLeague record in its modern version. But also, so it wasn't just points by an Olympiacos record. It was points, like the way he did it. So 45 points, missing only 2 shots. He only missed two shots.
And then a PIR record, right, for EuroLeague too?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like PIR record, like 52 point index ratings. Just insane performance against. Quick word on the basketball. We lost to Bayern Munich earlier in the season, and it was a pretty painful loss. I was actually at Dulles Airport in DC watching the bloody game before getting on the plane. But no, amazing score, 112 points by the end, and they had 69. Carson Edwards, one of the leading scorers in the league, kept to 0. Thomas Walkup, our best defender, EuroLeague Defender of the Year last season, went off in the first quarter. Fournier missing, Papa Nicolau missing. Folks stepped up, and Sasha in an absolutely massive way. And people were kind of moaning that Barzokas took him off at the end because he wanted to break. Was it Shane Larkin scored, I think, 48 or 49 points, and Nigel Hayes-Davis holds the record for most points scored in a single game in the EuroLeague with 50. So he had 2.5 minutes left to score a 50 piece or break the record or match it. And he got taken off because there's a game tomorrow. There's 2 games next week, a double week. We're going to Spain. So, I'll stop there on the basketball. But, check out Dimitris' reaction videos for the basketball lovers. Let us know what you think on the basketball side as well. So some growth there as well, guys.
So moving on to the match, crazy stuff here. Crazy. Olympiacos goes down. We get scored on in the first half. It was the 35th minute. Moron for ARIS. It was actually like a comedy of errors that led to that goal, but it was their first shot. Julian Biancon ends up carrying the ball from the back a little bit too long. Carries the ball close to midfield. Does get fouled. I mean, you could say he got fouled. I wouldn't have called it, but I think there's definitely a shout for a foul there when he loses the ball at midfield. The ball gets played in, and Danny Garcia makes a huge mistake that leads to opportunity. But then the icing on the cake for Loren Moron's shot right at the top of the penalty area, or at the top of the penalty box, I should say, was David Carmo getting absolutely cooked by Moron.
That was Garcia.
Was it Garcia or David Carmo right before
who got nutmegged?
No, Garcia got nutmegged, but then David Carmo just goes around him like nothing.
He was for me, like Carmo wasn't even there. He just nutmegged Garcia and then took the shot. Like he had a boulevard in front of him. Like there was no one. Yeah. There was no one there.
And then Soulakis on his part is also on his heels. But when the shot's getting taken, delays it was a good shot. It was a great take either way.
But I don't know how to call it in English. Xeroshoot. It was just like it
was a great
shot,
take.
Great
take. And Moron's done that all season. He's had some very great finishes. So we go down 1-0, and it's not for a lack of trying. We had some great opportunities in the first half, Costa. We got forward pretty well. A handful of opportunities, transitions into the final third, completely screwed up by really stupid decisions. Heze, we had a great transition to the final third where we were moving the ball from the right to the left. Heze gets it and then just completely misses a pass to the runner next to him. I mean, it just goes about like 5 meters behind him.
I remember.
Terrible. Chiquinho had a couple. Chiquinho's, we have so many of these transitions that he ruins for some of the same reasons. He had a couple today.
There's mixed. It's a mixed bag with Chiquinho.
Right.
Like there's a couple where you're like half a F sake.
Exactly.
And there's some other ones where he's really like important in that build up and those one touch flicks, or like the pass that he plays through to Gelson for the chance that Cuesta stops with his foot. Like that was a big chance where he put through Gelson Martins in the first half.
Right. Yeah. And it was and we missed those 2 chances, man. Like we had 2. El Kabi had one. Chiquinho had that tap. I mean, Gelson then had the shot that like gets saved by the toe of the defender. I mean, we had chances. People that were complaining about the first half when we were down 1-0, it wasn't for a lack of chances. Then in the second half, we get 2 goals called back. The offside's fine. But then, I'm sorry, the second goal that was called back with the Yaremchuk shove, as they said, when the defender was already falling before that, was utter nonsense. It was absolute nonsense. And even Ortega probably could have gotten a shot for a penalty earlier on in the game, by the way, when he got dragged on the left side of the penalty box. I'm sorry. That was a penalty shout as well. Anyway, the team fought. After the disallowed goal, they just kept fighting. Biancon with some great crosses. The cross for the disallowed goal. Then the cross to Babis Kostulas for the goal that he scored for his brace. I mean, Biancon, after the early mistake, really fought back in that game. The team fought together, and they made sure they fought together to get the win for Olympiacos and to keep us in first place. That's all. Really, in the end, that's what we want to see. When things get tough, when there's adversity, you want to see the team getting together and rallying and fighting. And that was really hard for me today, was to see the team fighting, to see that passion, which, by the way, the passion that we saw, that fight, was due in no small part to Babis Kostulas, oozing passion and energy. So he really kickstarted that whole thing, in my opinion. Because from the get-go, when he gets subbed on and he gets the first goal from his work on the press, wins the ball, takes it forward and scores. I think that was contagious for the rest of the team. Incredible from him. But that's the silver lining for me, is the fact that the team got together, they fought even after the adversity, and they pushed for the result.
I think we can have a whole segment and talk about Kostulas. I want to take a little bit step back and just look at the game from the bigger picture before we focus in on some of the key performances. Just the way it happened, man. Like, it was a highly dramatic game, as you said. 2 disallowed goals. We've put the ball in the back of the net 4 times. Kostulas coming on beginning of the second half together with Mouzakitis. Can say a lot also about the starting lineup. I want to say something afterwards. You know, I mean, there's a lot of symbolism for me this season. Like, you know, there's a lot of moaning and a lot of people talking about the transfers that were made or weren't made during the summer, Padents and Fortunis, and you know, these have been themes all season up until now, and obviously now having those conversations about transfers with the January transfer window. But my point is, the biggest thing that we take from this season, the legacy of this season, will undoubtedly be for me the two boys that are mentioned in this comment. And I'm not necessarily agreeing with Andreas that they should be starting every single game. They need to be managed properly. But I mean, what can you say about Kostulas? I think you kind of hit the nail on the head already, Ari, in what you said. That there was fight from the team. We've won our first game after going behind. It's the first time we've overturned a result this season, and Kostulas led the charge. He came on at the beginning of the second half, and immediately he steals a ball, knocks it past one defender. And can I just say, the way that he finishes the first goal and the second, for that matter, is just cold-blooded killer. Cold-blooded killer. He's got El Kabi, who's alone on the penalty spot on the first one, waiting for a cutback. And Kostulas, 17-year-old Kostulas, with the cojones of, you know, the most experienced strikers, like, don't even think about passing, doesn't even think about, like, looking square if he can look for a better option. He's like, boom. He just, like, slots that cool as you like into the corner, 1-1, then he doesn't celebrate, but he's straight back. He's like, let's go, 1-1, let's go and get the second one. You know, no BS. He's, you know, and then mate, at the end, you know, it was justice.
Yep.
You can argue for and against whether it was a proper push, especially after Ajax goal with the Mitoglu push the other week.
Oh, dude,
like, man. But the way that he scores the second goal, man, besides the, you know, karma, justice, we deserved it. Mate, have you ever seen a 17-year-old just like, it was a diving header where he, like, you know, he heads the ball into the ground. That's very difficult for a keeper to stop that. And it's really in the tightest corner, just where the keeper can't catch it. And you're just like, what a finish. And then he goes off and he's, you know, giving it the El Arabi celebration, and you're just loving it, absolutely loving it. And it's a game against ARIS, and we really, if you think about it, like, we shouldn't be overly joyous or like overdoing it in our celebration, but just the way it happened, the way the game evolved, the drama, the disallowed goals, the VAR taking 10 minutes, and then the referee going over. All of it, like, together packaged, it was an exciting game for us to watch today. And again, I'll say it just one more time. The biggest thing this season is Kostulas and Mouzakitis for me. And I don't know if we'll see more of Bakulas at some point during the season, Papacanelos, but just, mate, the fact that those boys are integrated into the first team, they, like, at least 3 of them are getting games. We can. There's a whole other conversation about the pressure that we're potentially putting on these kids. But does that 17-year-old, or do those boys look like they're, you know, that they're afraid? They're fearless.
No,
determined.
Yeah,
it's a marvel to watch.
You're 100% right. And talking about pressure, I mean, we're down 1-0, and it's halftime. We need, you know, we're looking at subs at halftime. Who comes on? Garcia Velde come off, and we put the 17-year-old kids on to make an impact. You know, that is a pressure situation. And look what happened. You put them on, and they were the impact we needed, especially Kostulas. You know, Mouzakitis, I'm not going to take anything away from him. He had some great movement. He even had that, it was that moment where Babis Kostulas plays him into the left side of the penalty area, and he plays a ball across the mouth of goal for us for another opportunity there. You know, him and Muzakitis, they took that pressure and they just ran with it. You love to see that. And kudos to Mendeleev for having the balls to do something like that. How many coaches do you know that are backs against the wall? You're down 1-0. You need to insert some creativity. You look to two 17-year-old kids. I mean, that says something there. Also, one other thing about Costulas, 17 years old. Was it Montoya before the red card he's getting into the face of? Do you remember when he got fouled on the other side of the box? Was that Montoya he was screaming at? And he was getting into his face?
Yeah, and Montoya
I thought
should
it was,
have been
but I
sent
couldn't
off
tell
10
the
minutes
number.
before he was sent off.
Yeah, and like, I mean, and he just kept getting into his face for like 5 minutes. They were going back and forth. I'm like, guys, this is a teenager against a grown man. And he is just putting his head on him, screaming at him. I just sat there, I was like, look at that. From a 17-year-old kid. This kid has no fear at all. You absolutely love to see that. And, you know, before we move kind of on to the next discussion, because I want to talk about Mendy a little bit. All of the grinya I saw immediately after the game. Oh, Olympiacos got the red card. I don't want to hear any of this bullshit coming from fans of a team that have gotten red cards in 5 of 7 Super League games. You do not get to talk. Ike does not get to talk. None of you get to talk. Any team that has the most extra time awarded to them, the most fouls awarded to them, and then the most results that have changed because of the extra time, you do not get a say in this. You do not get to talk. You sit there and you just enjoy it. That is it. We're in first place. Catch us.
Supporters of other teams are so butthurt tonight, and that gives me a little bit of extra satisfaction, because I was almost like I said it. We were talking with some mates during the game. I was close, you know, that this was going to be a Geller. Like we wouldn't win the game.
Oh yeah,
and
me too.
That's what they're thinking too. So just, you know, eat it.
I actually, you know what, AB, I almost forgot to bring this part up. Another part that really I enjoyed to see. AB says, at the moment when one of the ARIS players is starting shit with Muzakitis, and then the whole team stepped up to defend him. Earlier this season, and remember last season we complained about this too, you had players that were getting, or sorry, not late last season, early last season. You would see players, like a player would start shoving him, somebody, and the rest of the team's just walking away. And then the player had to defend for himself. Yeah. But this team, when you see your team jumping in, that's what I want to see. Something that's like a team that's more united like that, because you need it. We saw that at the end of the season. Our team was extremely united. They fought for each other. That's how you win championships. You have to have that. And in this game, it showed a lot more unity from the guys in this respect. They came together, they rallied together after that, and they fought. It's all things are really positive signs for me. You know, there were some signs maybe that weren't so positive that we'll touch in, but I thought that this was probably the biggest takeaway from this game aside from the win.
What did you think of the starting lineup, Ari?
I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't a huge fan, and you probably could tell from the starting 11 tweet that I did that I wasn't super thrilled with it. At least the Danny Garcia part.
Yeah.
Even though Muzakitis for the last couple of games has been like, you know, the form's been a little bit off, which is expected. He's 17. But I don't like when I see Danny Garcia Heze. For one reason. We don't have a lot of creativity in the deeper midfield. Muzakitis is the most creative thing that we have. So I don't like when we play these two defensive-oriented guys, because then our distribution and our movement can be quite flat. Now, Danny Garcia, aside from not having a great game, you could argue that, hey, they were there for the purpose, for the counter press and to try to stop transition at our third, which it did work. We only let one chance for ARIS all half. So maybe you could say that did work. But for me, Danny Garcia was just, he looked like early season Danny Garcia pre-mustache. You know what I mean? He just wasn't that good.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like, I think at the beginning of the season after the injury, it took him time, and then the Balk game he flipped the switch against Balk, and he had a good run of games. Then he got injured again, and I feel like now he's regressed a little bit. But that's normal, I would say, in a veteran player. But again, you said pretty much what I wanted to say, which is I didn't like that central midfield partnership as soon as I saw it. I thought whenever we've seen this partnership this season, it just it does not look good in the middle of the park. And Hez's intensity level seemed a little bit less than what it was in the previous game against Panathinaikos too. And I just, in general, I think those two just don't have a good chemistry together in midfield. And to your point, from looking deep into our midfield, they just don't click, and they're not creative enough in a game where you're playing at home and you need to create chances. And Chiquinho got involved more in attack, but they broke a couple of times, and you're just like, where are they? Where's their positioning tactically on the field? It just doesn't work. So okay, at least Mendy fixed it immediately at the beginning of the second half, taking Danny Garcia off and taking Velde off as well. So that's something I bear in mind when we're going to do the coaches' grades later.
Look, and Heze, for his part, I didn't have too much of an issue with my issue with Heze today was his giveaways. He had more than a few bad giveaways today in the offensive third, and he had that one where he basically almost gave away another shot to ARIS. It was a really bad attempted clearance in it was the first half. No, it was the second half. Second half he did that. But again, to your point, I'm 100% with you. That partnership just doesn't work. Yeah. I think maybe I want to believe that Mendy was trying to rest some of the players because we have Panathinaikos coming up in the first leg of the Greek Cup. So I do believe that maybe that was part of what he was thinking.
He has to manage them too, man.
Right.
It's like saying that there's one player that he doesn't manage. El Kabi is like, El Kabi, you're playing. So there's no load management or anything when it comes to him. He's like, he just plays all the time. You never know when he's going to score. It's like I was thinking during the game, when's the last time El Kabi scored from open play? And it was against Volos. You have to go back to the 7th of December. That was his last goal from open play. And he scored today. But yeah, obviously got disallowed.
Yeah. There's a couple of things I wanted to talk about briefly, Costa. We talked about the positives so far, especially, the Muzakitis and Kostulas. I want to talk about a couple of players maybe that aren't being looked at in a very positive light at all. And the first person I want to talk about is Velde. Christopher Velde did not have a great first half. He was very easily frustrated. And, when he gets that yellow card, he gets the yellow card against, I'm already forgetting who he had the yellow. Was it Montoya?
Their right back. I think it was Montoya.
Yeah, that's right. So it was the right back, and he's getting grabbed. He was getting grabbed all half. But he lets his frustration get the better of him, and he just throws Montoya off him. Easy yellow. That's an easy yellow for the ref because you're retaliating. So, but he didn't adapt. Anytime we play ARIS, it's like this. They're very aggressive. They get very handsy with everybody, and it becomes a very physical match. But today, Velde did nothing to adapt, and he didn't really do much to offer us much in the offensive third either. I think he had, I remember one shot that he tried to take from distance that was blocked, but I think he was visibly frustrated, and then he was not delivering on the pitch for us. And while I will attest that he did not have a great game today, I still do believe that in the previous 2-3 games that he's come on and played, he was one of the better players on the pitch. But seeing what he did today, it was kind of a regression and fuel for the fire that of Greek fans that of Olympiacos Greek fans that already do not like him and scapegoat him for everything. So he did no help for his case today. What was your thoughts on Velde?
I mean, his performance today is characterized by his reaction in those few seconds. Really,
yeah.
I don't remember him really being an important participant in the game. He's not in any of the big chances we created. I think, your title that you've put up here it characterizes his performance. And, he was frustrated. Fans are frustrated. And it creates more pressure now to sign a player. Because you see that at the end of the game, who do you bring on? And the manager doesn't seem to have a lot of faith in Yaremchuk, but we're just lacking options. Masouras was on the bench today. Masouras didn't come on. You're thinking at the end of the game, like it's the 90th minute, you've got stoppage time and you need to score a winner. You've brought on Kostoulas, you've brought on Mouzakidis. Who do you bring on? You brought Costinha in and then eventually brought Yaremchuk on the 84th, 85th minute. And guys, like, what do you expect Yaremchuk to do in 5 minutes? Yeah, I mean, that's another conversation we can have maybe afterwards. But there's no one, man. Doesn't trust Masouras. So who have you got? Gelson Martins and Velde. And Papacanelos, who played a bit in the last game. But yeah, man, there's pressure, massive pressure now to bring in a player. And I think I'm starting to think you need more than that one winger.
Yeah.
It's like, ideally, I would like to bring a player that can play on the wing and can play behind the striker too. Conscious that, I don't want Kostoulas' minutes to get cut. That's important for me. So I think get a winger.
Yeah.
If you can bring Andre Orta back on a decent deal, bring him back.
I'm with you.
I'd prefer to avoid a weird experiment, a lone player that comes in and flops, like, a Navarro type player. You don't need a Navarro type player. If you can bring somebody that's familiar, like Orta, do it. And then just find the bloody winger. Like, even Gelson, like, we all know his positives, his shortcomings, he's injury prone. So it's got to be done. It's got to be done. And there's some people in the chat, they're saying we're already late. Like, yeah, I mean, it's the 11th of January, guys. We're recording this live stream. Like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Hitting the like button literally takes you 1 second, costs you nothing, means everything to us. So please just go ahead and do that. Yeah, man. I mean, we can talk about transfers too, but one by one.
And just for the record, Nikolakopoulos had said that to expect developments for that playmaker this coming week, so that there would be some positive momentum there. But another person that we've already seen, there was a negative comment I put up earlier about Yaremchuk, because Yaremchuk was the one that got called for that very soft VAR reviewed, or that foul that called back the second goal. And now people are continuing to have a go. Yaremchuk, you know, get him out. Every time he comes on, I mean, you know, he comes on for a few minutes in one occasion, he breaks his nose. And now he gets called for like the one of the softest things I've ever seen, when the guy's already falling. And people have the pitchforks out. This guy hasn't even played 300 minutes for us. And quite frankly, when he was on the pitch today, I thought he was fine. I think he was doing his job, getting in tussles with the defenders. I liked his movement at the least. You know, I still think this guy can be useful for us. You know, I mean, you brought up earlier, what do you expect the guy to do in 5 minutes? And I'm with you there. I mean, as long as I see the movement, the effort, he pulled 2 defenders on him, by the way, in the VAR reviewed phase. He had 2 guys on him.
It was a pincer movement. It's like when one striker goes one way and the other one pulls behind. He took the strikers with him, and I think he's got his hands there. But when you see it in slow motion, it just looks like the guy's already falling, and then he kind of makes a meal out of it. But I don't know, man. Like, that's a tough one for the referee. Anyway, it didn't matter in the end. But before I say something about Yaremchuk, I just pulled up this comment from AB. Says Velde has the attitude of Ronaldo and the skill of Seba.
I don't get it.
Tears. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, jokes aside, man. Like, Yaremchuk, I'm not convinced that he's finished. Like, I mean, after the Panathinaikos game, I think it was you and I, we were talking here again. I was saying that, you know, there are other players that have been thrown out of Olympiacos for less.
De La Fuente.
You know, De La Fuente comes to mind, the most recent example, and I mentioned it on the last transfer video that I did. The thing, I think there's a player there. Like, he hasn't really had a chance. Like, when has he played? When has he started? Has he even started in a cup game against Galicia? I don't like. He didn't, did he? Like,
I think I remember one start, but then he got subbed at halftime.
No, but man, no. It's like he hasn't had chances, like proper chances. He's been coming on and playing trash minutes at the end of games. You feel like he had good confidence against Steaua when he had that header and he broke his nose, and then it was like, you know, this guy can't catch a break, and like, we have some people in our Patreon chat that are saying he's cursed, like, you know, got to get rid of him, like, you know, cut ties. I feel bad for him in a way, although, like, he's a professional sports we're talking about. You look at Ukrainian players around the world, though, in general, and you're thinking, like, you know, look at Mudryk at Chelsea. Look at Zinchenko. Is he still at Arsenal? Malinovsky, I think, is he at Marseille now? It's normal that their mind isn't 100% on football. That's also just like a human consideration, guys. And again, I know it's professional sports we're talking about. It's the team that we love, but that's something that I'm like, you know, he's not 100% there. Possibly, like, I could be wrong, but it's something that's on my mind and something that I wanted to say. So when you're living that kind of situation, you've got family in Ukraine with everything that's going on, it's not easy to be 100% focused on football. So,
no, you're right.
You know, that being what it is, like, there were reports listening to Greek radio over the past week. Apparently, he doesn't want to leave. Like, okay, and you could say, yeah, he wants to sit on his fat salary. He's got 3 or 4 year contract that we signed on him?
I think it's a 4-year contract.
Yeah, like 4-year contract, so like significant investment. I guess his wife, his immediate family is all in Greece. Like, they've settled. He's been moving around from Bruges to Valencia to, you know, all over the place the last couple of years, and it's normal. Like, do we give him a chance? Like, I bet if we did a poll, it would probably be like majority negative. I'd be curious, actually, but I don't think he's done. Like, I think there's a player there, but are we going to see him? I'm not sure. Is Dovikas like a better replacement? Maybe. He fits Mendilibar's system pretty well. It's like a spearhead striker that knows the Greek league. I don't underestimate that. It's like, can you bring in a player like that? Can you bring Dovikas in on a loan? Are Celta trying to make a sale only? They're not interested in loaning. I don't know, man. It's a tough one.
And we make the situation worse when we're not willing to play. You know, we're not willing to play Yaremchuk and give him minutes, because like, the guy is never going to catch form if he's playing 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. You know what I mean? As a striker, and we're unwilling to take out El Kaabi. You know, you can make the excuse that you can't, or you can make the argument that you cannot bench El Kaabi, which is true. But in games like today, you know, you saw El Kaabi was pretty much useless in our build-up and our possession moving forward today. He gets the goal that's called back, but we're not even willing to try to take him off for Yaremchuk. We're not willing to do that. So you're not willing to give significant minutes to Yaremchuk. So we make the whole situation worse. So if it becomes one of those things, if Mendilibar is not willing to do that, and if Mendilibar is not willing to actually count on Yaremchuk, then it's the same situation with Oliveira. There's no purpose to have him here. Oliveira is a square peg in a Mendilibar circle puzzle. Maybe Yaremchuk is the same way.
This is a really good comment from Stathis. In order to succeed in Olympiacos, you need to have a certain mindset. Yaremchuk shows me that he has it every time he comes on for 5 minutes. Velda does the opposite with way more playing time. So I think that's a really good point, because like when he does come on for 5 minutes, or like those small little cameos, and you're always like, oh, why the hell are you throwing him on only for 5 minutes? At least my reaction. The defense feels him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does. I mean, he always and that's the thing. He always draws defenders. People don't see a lot of that, right? Because most people watch where the ball's going. They don't pay attention to what the players that are moving around are doing. Now, to be fair, you really don't get a great view of that from the TV. It's harder to see those things. But when you're at the field, you're at the stadium and watching, you really get a much better perspective of these players that are moving around and what they're doing. And to be honest with you guys, when I go back and I review some of the tape and the film, when the game stuff comes out, I see that with Yaremchuk a lot. So there's a lot to that. He has great movement, and you can make the argument, Costa, that when Yaremchuk comes on, even in his 5 minutes here, 6 minutes there, whatever, for some reason, when he's on, even if he's missing the opportunities, he always finds himself in a scoring opportunity. There's something to that, right, Costa? There's something to the fact that he's always finding himself in those types of scoring opportunities. But again, if Mendilibar is not willing to put faith in him and actually use him, what good? What we're not doing ourselves any favors, just like with Oliveira. If in the end he's not going to use him, we have to try to move him on. That's it. Now, if he doesn't want to leave, that's a separate problem, but it is what it is. You either have to trust and use him and maybe give El Kabi a break once in a while, or that's it. That's it. I had a comment up here, by the way, from MDM. He was talking about some transfers.
Yeah, there's some interesting comments coming in the chat.
Do you want to do man of the match coach's grade, that we could move on to some transfer talk? Because we got some information.
Yeah, sure. Good shout. So
let's.
I mean, is it really necessary to even debate who the man of the match is? Like,
I'm pretty sure you and I have the same one.
No, but
Costulas, okay. Clearly. Costulas, yeah.
There's no discussion. There's no discussion. There's like a shout out for Biancon because he had 2 assists today. He's like, okay. Yeah, the ruled out El Kabi goal, and just the passion at the end. There's a video going around social media of him like kind of fist pumping and like giving it to the fans after the second goal, which is great. Like the passion, and you love it. Like Marshall, I think, and a couple of others actually got to meet him after the final against Fiorentina, and he was injured, right? He'd had I think knee surgery, but he was obviously there. The guy loves the club, man. The guy's fallen in love with the club. Like he's he's part of the culture. He's fully adapted, integrated, and just like into it. 100% Olympiacos, and you love to see it. And it's not just the vibes and the passion that he uses, but like, man, there's quality there. When he's on the ball, and like, there was some overconfidence when he lost the ball leading up to the first goal,
right.
Aris's goal. But you can, those types of players, the ball distributing centre backs, there's always that risk, right? Whether it's like Virgil van Dijk or David Carmo or Retos or whoever it is, like bringing the ball up, like there's risk from time to time, and that it didn't impact him. It didn't knock him. And he's been important today with his passing. for the goal at the end. Yeah. So credit to him, but like otherwise, man, there's no discussion who the MVP of the game is.
No, yeah, it's Costulas, and literally like up until we started talking about this, it was 100% for Costulas with the audience. I see some love now, a little bit of love for Buzakitis, and then a handful of people seem to have voted for Biancon as well. But it's 93% for Babis Costulas now. It doesn't get much more clear than that. Now, here's maybe where we'll have a little bit of difference. What about your coach's grade?
Excuse me. So I give Mendeleev a B today because it's hard because I didn't like the Danny Garcia Heze thing going on in the midfield. But you mentioned something earlier. Mouzakitis needed maybe a bit of a rest, or like he's keeping him fresh, thinking that there's a Panathinaikos game, and I think we're playing at home on Wednesday, right? So he's keeping him fresh for Wednesday as well. I think that didn't work in the middle of the park. Right. Maybe even Stamenic would have been better today than Danny Garcia. He came on a little bit towards like the end of the dying embers of the game, Stamenic. So I didn't like that, and then I generally had a bit of question marks over what's going on with the centre-back pairing. And I appreciate that he hasn't changed his centre-backs. Like
two games in a row.
Yeah, two games in a row. He's stuck with those two and hasn't subbed either of them off.
Yep.
That's an interesting discussion, actually, because we ended 2024 with Pirola pretty much being a starter. And I don't know if he's picked up knock or like if he's not 100% fit, like why he hasn't been playing. I think Biancon's leapfrog over Retos is, I can see that. And I think like he's earned a spot. Right. He's done well. The only explanation for me regarding Carmo coming back into the fold is that like you just need him to pick up, and knowing that the Porto game is coming as well, that's where you expect him to show ego and pride, and you need to give him a run of games to get him back into rhythm so that he's got the confidence and he's got the, you want to see that David Carmo that we saw in the final against Fiorentina when we go and play Porto in the Dragao So those were my kind of question marks around the lineup. And then obviously he's like the coach has fixed things, quote unquote, at halftime, bringing on Costulas and Mouzakitis. So he impacted the game with the subs. So to cut a long story short, it could have been a C, but it's a B. And maybe I'm being harsh, but mine's a B.
Yeah, actually, so then you and I share the same opinion, because this could have very easily been a C for me, C minus D. But he took a big gamble. He subbed both 17-year-old kids on at halftime, and it paid off. So in the end, that's and it's not just we won the game 2-1. We scored 4 goals. 2 got called back. What else do you want? So for me, it's, I'm not going to say it was a master stroke, because no, the exact problem I envisioned would happen in the first half with Danny Garcia in there. But he was quick this time. He was much quicker this time to make changes, not waiting till like the 65th, 70th minute when things still aren't working. He changed it quickly. And it worked. So in the end, that's what you graded on. I don't know if I agree with a C minus here. If we had drawn, if this ended up in a draw, then probably C minus or D. But no, we came back and we won. I don't see how you can give him a C minus for that, even if you didn't like the starting lineup. But anyway, that's how I saw that there. Should we move on for some quick transfer talk before we go ahead and wrap up?
Yeah. I mean, I know you need to go soon, but I'm happy to stay on a little bit longer.
Perfect. So really quickly, we'll tell you guys kind of, you should know if you haven't already, because we've been putting on our socials, the consensus has been that we are getting for the moment 3 players: a left back, a playmaker / left winger, so 10 / guy that plays on the left, and then a right winger. The latest Anthony, we had told you guys during the last live show, after we had gotten information that Olympiacos had made an inquiry about him, that we were told kind of directly from the source that there was nothing between Olympiacos and Anthony as it stood. And that continues to be the case. Even though you're seeing and hearing all this stuff about Anthony since last week, it has not changed. There's nothing with Olympiacos and Anthony. Now, this morning, we were given information about Apostolopoulos and Lech Poznan. There was a clarification that then came out that while Lech Poznan had an offer, they were interested in Apostolopoulos, they do not want to purchase him. And Olympiacos wants to sell Apostolopoulos. Not loan with a buyout option, they want to sell him. That, to me, is an indicator that maybe we know the target, and we just want to move on Apostolopoulos. The plan with him is done. So any kind of sale you can get with sell on for that is great. But it is, I can't see us bringing in a BAM signing that, like people say, that's not a loan. And there's no way we are going to be able to purchase and pay the amount of money like for Ivan, I forgot how you say his last name. Jaime for Porto. They want 10 million. We can't do that unless we use Forest as a vehicle. We are going to be looking for a loan, a 6-month loan type of person, somebody that can give us something this month and maybe catch form and go somewhere else. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. And then if we move Oliveira and Yaremchuk, then we would bring in a Duvikas option, or the part that was surprising to me was Horta. I would bring in Andre Horta immediately. I wouldn't, that would be my more like playmaker option or one of those. I wouldn't be saying, no, I'm only getting him if I move Oliveira. I disagree with that entirely, but I'm not the club. I don't know. There's been the Gonzalo Borges. There's now been Marcus Edwards. It's very common for clubs to spread the feelers out, right? You can't just count on one person. They're going to target multiple players at the same time. We know how this works. They've told us, Carapapas even mentioned it to us when we did the interview with him. When you have your targets, you have the profile that the coach wants. Mendilibar has the last say on all of these deals. And you find the profile, you find the players that you can have access to that actually want to come, and then the coach picks the best one. That's it. There is a limit to what we can do. I see people complaining about the loans already. FFP is a thing, guys. We haven't sold anybody. What kind of sales have we did? What, 5 million of sales this summer, Costa? That's it? Max?
To be honest with you, I can barely remember like notable sales.
Right. So we were already down to the wire. Now the situation wasn't as dire as the previous season where we needed to sell 25 million of players. We pretty much had a smaller budget, about 15 million, and we couldn't do much because we didn't sell anything. And it hasn't changed. Now we have a Willian contract. God knows how much we still owe him for cutting that, but we saved some money there for a wage. That's probably all we're going to be able to do. So it's just
an interesting one.
Of it.
That's an interesting one with Willian because by all reports that was a mutual termination. So presumably there's some kind of rescindal fee.
Yes,
but it was also like his desire to leave. He wanted to leave as well. So
we hope for our sakes there's not a big fee, but there's how it is, Costa. We know how this is now.
Yeah.
We know that there's always the term in America that we use is dead money. There's money that you lose that has to go because he's owed in the contract. Even if he's the one that leaves, he still gets something. We don't know how much that is. It's not as clear, unfortunately, when it comes to Olympiacos, what that is. But loans it has to be. And if you guys want a player that has immediate impact, you're not going to accept a a scouted find that we're going to need maybe some time to develop. That's not acceptable to this fan base. So you're going to want players that are kind of ready to go. And with Willian gone, we're 22 people in the UEFA list, Costa. We only have 3 more. So if we get rid of Yaremchuk, if we get rid of Oliveira, we're only losing spaces in the UEFA list. So this is the situation, and it is what it is. You know, we have to our situation financially, we're not going to splash money unless we sell a player. We have to sell players if we want to bring others in. Apostolopoulos, even if we got the 700K, is that enough to bring somebody in? Probably not.
No.
You have to sell a bigger player.
It's going to be like some kind of Gelson Martins signing like last January.
Yeah.
Or a loan.
Oh, we have a third Forest loan we haven't gotten yet. Remember, we can get one more from Forest. I'm telling you, we are getting one more Forest loan.
I mean, Ramon Sosa just scored. He had a goal and an assist today against Luton. They were playing in the cup. Yeah.
I don't think that was ever an option for us, was it?
I mean, he's not a regular.
No, he's not.
No, he's not. He's not a regular. Like it's Alanga is playing on the wings. That he's not playing weekend. It's Hudson Odoi and Alanga at Forest.
Yep, this rumor is nonsense.
Jesus Christ! But that link is probably because of Rodinei.
Has to be
because they're good. They're good friends.
Yeah.
Brazilian media probably got nothing to do as well. It's just like, oh, Olympiacos, Marinakis, Vasco da Gama, David Luiz is a free agent. Oh, Rodinei plays there. You know, just like create something out of nothing.
Can I tell you what I'm waiting to happen for the left back situation? I am waiting for the Athanasiou Apostolopoulos swap so that we can get him before the summer.
It's weird because it's quite dead. In terms of the talk around the left back, there was some talk about the guy that played for, was it Freiburg?
Right.
I can't remember his name, Makungo. Yeah. So there was talk about him, and then it's like there's not really been any links. Like obviously, it's more exciting to look at strikers or attacking players. I apologize, than it is to look at left back. But like we've really not heard any links, any potential targets or names for left back. There has been some talk the last couple of days that we're no longer looking for a Ortega backup, but we're looking for somebody that's better than Ortega.
That changed because before it was just somebody that could challenge him. Now it's we want somebody that's better than him. So then let me ask you, and maybe the chat will disagree with us. Do you think Athanasiou is better than Ortega?
No.
Or Atromidos? I think he's a decent player, but I don't think he's better than Ortega. What you get from Ortega today, because I thought he had a good game today. What you got from him today, you don't get from Athanasiou.
No, I think that Athanasiou is clearly an upgrade on Apostolopoulos.
Of course.
Yeah. And Ramon.
Oh God, don't get me started with this Ramon.
But lots of interesting things that have been going around in the chat today. Like we haven't been able to get around to everything. Guys, do like and subscribe. If you're joining us for the first time, we're Thrylos International, your number one English source for all things Olympiacos. There are over 100 of you in the chat, only about 50 likes. Come on, guys. Quick like, cost you nothing. There was a conversation earlier. Somebody was talking about our centre-backs. Man, we've got... Koutsidis, Kalogeropoulos coming back next season. Pirolas tied up with a contract. Retsos, like at centre back, we're pretty.
And Koutsidis is on loan, by the way.
Who was
last show? He's at Volos. Koutsidis is at Volos. That happened.
Yeah, I didn't mention Biancon, but like we seem pretty like set at centre back. At left back, like, man, did Ramon get sold? Is he on loan again? He's in the second division in Brazil now with Internacional. Doran Leidner hasn't really played. He hasn't really been playing during his loan, which is not good.
No, it's not good at all.
And it's not like Nelson Abbey, where they've clearly seen, all right, Nelson Abbey's not playing at Swansea. Let's bring him back and loan him out to Rio Ave.
Right.
Fair play. But at left back, it's Ortega, and that's it.
Yep.
And it doesn't look like Athanasiou's coming in now.
Yep.
Doran Leiden has played 4 games for Zurich, 1 as a starter. Total minutes played 119 minutes.
Yep. And don't forget, at Zurich, Leidner, I'm pretty sure his loan there is an option to buy. They have an option to buy on that. But yeah, they're not using him. Yeah. They're not using him, so I don't know if it means anything. And Leidner's with us until 2027. You know, that's another one. But look, I don't know. You know, Doi is another one. I think they're trying to find a way out for him, to be honest with you. It's
like, look, I think I mentioned this to somebody the other day. Doi's contract for me was renewed on the back of the nice performances that he had as a defensive midfielder. Those last 2-3 games during the friendlies in preseason played really nice, like as a DMC. Yep. Season started, Doi centre back. Done. It's like, man, if you're not going to play him in his position, he's not a centre back for me. He's too scary. For me, it's scary when he's playing centre back, because I know he's going to do something. He's going to lose his head. He's going to lose his concentration. He's going to do something, and he's going to screw it. Screw
he's the Greek version, the Greek version of Ba. That's the plane in that's it, man. That's the exact same worry you have with him. And now we're stuck with him until 2028, and we're not even using him in the position that he looked good in.
That's a really good take. Like, I like that. Like the Greek.
I don't like Matt, you know, because he's an academy kid, and he really kind of came forward at a really difficult time in this club, and he showed something. But like, guys, here's the thing, and I've said this now. I've said this about Doi. I've said this about I've said this about Yaremchuk and Oliveira, and I'll say it about Doi. If we're not going to use Doi in the only position he looks good in, you have to get rid of him. We're holding on to these players, and if there isn't a concerted effort to actually use them or use them in their roles that they're good in, we have to find ways to get rid of them. And Doi is no exception. Now, the only good thing about Doi is we can get rid of him without major consequence to the UEFA list, because he was on the B list. Mm-hmm. His age cutoff was for the B list, so we got lucky with that. But a guy like Apostolopoulos, not on the B list. He's A list. So we lose a spot if we get rid of him. Oliveira, we lose a spot.
He's over age, I think.
Correct. Yeah, because he ended up turning 22 this year.
That's right.
So he didn't make the age cutoff. So that's the situation. And we have to figure out, in the end, we know Mendy wants only 23 players on the list, right? Plus the kids. So I have a feeling we will get rid of at least one more player, maybe 2.
He's somebody that you can make money on. Like, he's a sellable asset.
He is.
He's a sellable asset for me. So if you get like even 3.5-4 million for Doi with a sell-on clause, like a percentage, you've made money. You've made money. Mm-hmm. He's an academy player.
Yep. And we've always said that type of business, you love that business. You get rid of Apostolopoulos. He was an early, I forgot where we got him from. Did we get him from Panathinaikos?
Panathinaikos, yeah.
The academy. So you brought him in. You brought him in for nothing. I think we paid $100K for him, something like that.
Yeah, whatever.
You paid nothing for him. If you get rid of him for 700, 800K, you got some use out of him during the Conference League run last year. That's it. You made some money. You had a decent player, and you did something out of it. There's movement. There's mobility within the academy. Same thing with Doi. You get a couple million for Doi. That's a success. That's a huge success. So,
agreed.
But in the end, this club is not going to be making any major transfers that are going to infringe on what is happening with Mouzakitis and Kostulas, and B, what's going to take us over financial fair play. You guys might not believe in it. I know we have a lot of followers that don't believe financial fair play is a thing, but this is true. If you're expecting us to pay 10 million for Jaime, you're going to be very disappointed this summer. We do not have 10 million. We barely have a couple million to give somebody. Any deal we make is going to be a loan unless it's through Forest. If we get a player that has big value that gets purchased, it will be done through Nottingham Forest, just like the David Carmo deal. That is it. We all know, whether you believe it or not, there are some financial issues that are not completely behind us yet. Another one is Willian. We don't know how much money is associated with the dead money there, but there is part. Freeing up the wage frees up money for the wage. That is it. For the last 3 years, this club has lost almost 60 million euros. That is the limit that a club that is not deemed healthy by UEFA can lose without getting a restriction on the transfer market. So this is the situation. And it's, again, I'm not saying this as an excuse, because the club has put itself, we put ourselves in this situation with the business that was done. This summer, a lot of that finally goes away. We have a little bit, we're going to have more wiggle room in that respect. And especially if we make sales, we will be able to have much heavier movement in the transfer market. But this is the situation in the winter. The club is trying to get a big signing, but if any, it'll be a player with heavy wages that we get on loan. That's the reality of the scenario. This is it, guys. If you're expecting us to pay 8 million, 9 million, it's never happening. If we get Horta, it's because it's going to be cheap. Otherwise, these are loans. This is a harsh reality that some of you need to understand. You can believe it's a conspiracy for FFP, fine. But at least understand the reality that there's no fee getting paid. Otherwise, you're just going to be as upset as you were over this past summer, that we spent the second most in Greece over the summer. It is what it is. There is. There's always
case in point.
There's always, and it's, I don't know if it's more ironic that Achilles Beos is the username that's saying it's a conspiracy theory. But there you go. So, here we go.
Right.
Here's another one. Okay. Before not
now, Ari. You can maybe do a video on FFP.
I've already done one, but you know what? That's for the patrons. I actually do have a video where I explain a little bit more FFP and where I explain like how the book values are determined. So consider joining Patreon and watch that video, because I explain how it's done, how the bookkeeping is done. So do we have a link to our Patreon in the details below? There's a link in the details, yeah. So check out the Patreon, guys. There's a link in the description. I did a whole video on it, so you can at least understand some of it and why it's a little bit more complicated and what goes into it. I don't have all the exact numbers, but I'm pretty good at estimating them. Anyway, check it out on the Patreon group. I'm going to leave you guys. Costa will take you through the rest of the night. Enjoy the win. Let's be positive, guys. Come on. We still have over half the transfer window. Be happy. We're in first place. If Panathinaikos does something stupid and drops points, we continue to pull away. Be happy. We're in first still. See you guys. Kalinita.
Ciao, Ari. Right. Okay. Oh, what happened here? Why has it gone purple? That's odd. Anyway, guys, I'm not going to stay long, but I'll stay with you guys for a little bit and try and answer questions on some transfers or anything that you throw into the chat. I'll stay another 10 minutes, 10 minutes max. Feel free to drop your questions in the comments. Sorry, we haven't been able to go through absolutely everything, all of the questions and comments that have been coming into the chat throughout the evening, wherever you're watching us from, whether you're in Greece, the US, Australia. We're being watched in over 90 countries. Thank you so much for your support, just being here. Like, if you want to consider sponsoring us or giving us a super chat, everything that we get, we put back into the podcast and making it a better product for you. Okay, so here's a good question from Alex. Who would I prefer, Almiron, Edwards, or Anthony? My choice would probably be Almiron out of those three. I think Edwards, like, obviously there's risk in all three options. I think that Almiron really would suit the manager's playing style. He has good experience. Like over the last couple of years, it's been fairly consistent in terms of the minutes that he's been getting, albeit I think this season he's featured just over 10 games, like around 700 minutes. I just think it's a player with like at a good age too, coming from the Premier League. I think he's the one that would be able to adapt the fast. I have some question marks over Marcus Edwards in terms of his tactical acumen, whether he'd be able to fit into the system seamlessly and have an impact quickly, because we need a player that can come in and hit the ground running and have impact. Almiron's got goals in him. I think he'll have a massive impact in Greece, in Europe for that matter. And then Anthony, I don't know, man. I think the risk is higher than Almiron, no doubt. Like if we're talking about Anthony, the player we saw at Ajax, there's no question. But I just think it's too risky. And also I did a transfer video earlier in the week, and I was talking about Anthony. Just like the track record with Brazilians has been absolutely horrible, horrendous over the last couple of years. He doesn't have an afro, so maybe that's something. Like, don't sign Brazilians with afros. We've had Willian, Marcelo, and then somebody made a joke the other day. We had, what was his name? Bruno. Was it Bruno from Atromitos had an afro as well? Anthony doesn't have an afro. I don't know, but yeah, the answer to that question for me is Almiron. And as long as he's not made a move to the MLS, the word is that he wants to stay in Europe. So as long as Almiron isn't signing for another team, just keep that in the back of your mind about Miguel Almiron. What else have we got? Jaime and Edwards in general, like I've heard that they've have some attitude issues. Edwards turning up to training late, man, those kinds of things are red flags for me. And I've heard some things about Jaime, his behavior, and I know that those are like behavior and just keeping the dressing room in a good way is something very important. Obviously, like not just for the club, but for the manager specifically as well. So I don't know. And Ari already said, I mean, Jaime, Porto wanting 10 million, not happening. This Georgian player, Guliashvili, I haven't seen enough. GS, I don't remember seeing him. As far as I understand, this is a young prospect Georgian player. Are they talking about this guy as the next Kvaratskhelia? I don't know. We have a profile like Guliashvili. I mean, Papacanelos specifically. If you're going to buy Guliashvili, then why not play Papacanelos? He's shown to be one of the best promising wingers in Europe, winning the youth league last season. So why would you sign similar profile? What else have we got here? Dimitri, yeah, man, I love my Christmas tree. It's going to stay there as long as possible. Normally they say take the Christmas tree down at the end of the first week of January. So I probably have a bit of work to do tomorrow with the missus. But yeah, I love my Christmas tree. Got my Red Bulls on it. Love it. What else have we got? Rumors, Rio Ave transfer. Not sure. Was my pronunciation bad? MDM. Kvaratskhelia. I think I got it right. I don't know. Are you an expert in Georgian pronunciation? Plagagan. Keep those comments coming in, guys. Unfortunately, we will never see Ibora again. Big shout out to Ibora. The guy was clutch at the end of last season. Unreal. Doi can't get the ball forward. Distribution's not bad. That's ábalos in Rica. That's like comparing Iborra and Doi is like comparing Maldini and I don't know. Like Iborra's a serial winner, guys. What was it? He's won 5 European trophies or something ridiculous. We got anything else? Any good questions? New comments, keep them coming in. If we had Yazidji on the field, we wouldn't be in such a predicament up front. I don't know, like, you never know. Like, we haven't had a chance to see how the player would have gelled with the team. And I'm going to be honest, like, Marshall, out of the co-hosts of this podcast, probably the best one that can really speak to Yazidji, but I know that he was really keen when he was rumored during the summer window, and there was general excitement when he came in, despite the fact that he was also one of those players that was at the end of his contract with Lille and hadn't been in a preseason camp, came in late. Poor guy gets injured in his first game playing in a potato field in Tripoli. Hopefully he has something to offer next season, or at least like highlights I've seen of him at Lille. He looks like a good player. I think he's got something to give. Who do you see coming in over the summer, Costa? What do you mean, players or manager? Because Mendilibar's contract is up at the end of this season. Remember, I think that's a big conversation to be had. As we've been having this conversation in our Patreon group, again, shameless plug to Patreon group. You can join the WhatsApp group for €1, guys. And we've got more exciting things coming up at Patreon. Do take the time to at least go and check out the website. Details in the description below. The point I was making, Mendilibar's system is very rigid. It's not easy to watch. I mean, in Greece in particular, in these kinds of games, with these players, Greece it's been tough sometimes watching Greek Super League games because he's very specific in what he wants. The direct football, it's not super creative. I don't think the players have an enormous amount of freedom to go out and express themselves. You've obviously got to have the type of players that can go out and like express themselves, be creative. Not sure if we have many of those, but I think I said it on the last podcast too. If we get good results and qualify for the next round of the Europa League, depending how we do it also, if we manage to get past the next knockout round, if we get there, hopefully we will, then, you know, Mendilibar's held in very high esteem, obviously, by Olympiacos fans, but I don't think that we should be, how to say, dogmatic about, you know, we have to, you know, Mendilibar has to stay. No manager stays forever. No manager stays forever. So that's an important question at the end of this season. What do we do with the manager? Κώστα, μιλάς πολύ καλά αγγλικά και ελληνικά. You were fine. Μια χαρά ήσουνα. Το ίντερνετ να σου φτιάξουν λιγάκι. Costinha. How many people in here think Rodinei is still the starting right back for Olympiacos? Costinha for me is the number one right back for us. It's no disrespect to Rodinei. No disrespect to Rodinei. Yes, he was one of the best defenders in Portugal. He was voted in some of the best starting 11s that came out. I really like this player. It's another comment. Do I think Costinha is better than Rodinei as a right back? Yeah, I think he's won that position for me. In the big games, he has to be starting. He has to be starting for me. I think defensively he's better, and yes, of course, got a much better cross, much more consistent in his crossing. He had a couple of crosses today. Like, he loves to cross the ball along the ground. Got a couple of those today. Rodinei is better at progressing the ball forward. He can cut inside as well. He likes to do that thing where if he's playing with Costinha loves to stay on the line and go up and down all game. And Rodinei will, when he's playing as a winger, he'll cut inside to try and take a shot with his left foot or cross it with his left foot. So like, I don't want to be like, yeah. This comment is where I'm at. It's like, Costinha is better for me, but Rodi Psicara, like, we love him, and I think it's probably those two are the best two right backs in Greece right now. Paul in Greek, is this somebody from England that's translated a comment into Greek? Says, do you believe that Nottingham can challenge for the title if they beat Liverpool? Can they do what Leicester did? You never know, man. Football, anything can happen. Costulas like llamarle o algo. Costulas, guys. Amazing specimen of a player. I mean, I've never, and probably most of the people that are watching this live stream or watching it afterwards, have we ever seen a player like Costulas? I can't remember. In the however many 30 plus years I've been watching football, I've been watching Olympiacos, I can't remember a player like Costulas. Obviously, football's evolved over the years. His physicality, the traits, the physical traits he has as a 17-year-old guy is actually ridiculous. You think this guy's 17? I don't know, like, some of you in here might be in their like mid-30s, early 40s. You might have kids. You might have teenage kids. Like, this guy's a teenager. He's 17 years old. He's 10 years older than my eldest daughter. And the guy's just like, he's a ridiculous body. Somatodomi ktinos, like beast at 17 years of age. 17 years of age. Just think, guys. And he's playing at one of the, some people might laugh, one of the most high pressure clubs in Europe, if not the world, where you're expected every single game to go out and win, whether you're playing against Kolopetinitsa, or you're playing against Real Madrid, don't matter. You go out and you play to win. Respect to him, man. Like, I hope he keeps his head to the ground, keeps working hard. I've heard great things about his character, his family background as well. I think it helps a lot. And I've heard nothing but positive things from people that know him personally and know the family. So his head's in the right place. And I think I mentioned it earlier as well, just like his reaction on the first goal. It wasn't not the cold-bloodedness, but like what he did after. He's like, we equalized, we scored, let's go straight back to the halfway line and get the next one. So Kostoulas is in a kefalo, as we say in Greek, for the club. I don't know realistically how long we're going to be able to keep him. I know obviously the player loves the club. He's signed a new contract. There's no release clause. There's no minimum fee. So, the most important thing for Babis is getting playing time, staying sharp, staying hungry, staying confident, and probably just most importantly, stay healthy. Those are the most important things for Babis, for me. We've got some jokes in here as well. I want to vote Yaramchuk for man of the match as Dimos. MDM says Kostulas will be world class. So Harumoso Prolavum. Proud of him. Yes, mate. Yeah, here we go. We had the Greek Ronaldo Vlachodimos and the Greek Messi Koutsianikoulis. Tax. Fetfadzidis was the Greek Messi too. Sotiris Ninis was the Greek Messi with a right foot. If Tsimikas went to Liverpool, then Kostulas will go to Real Madrid or Barca for sure. Big clubs are looking at him. But again, if a Real Madrid or a Barcelona comes knocking it, obviously we can't prejudge how he's going to develop over the next couple of years. But would you, if you're Kostulas, hypothetically, if you're Kostulas and you get a bid from Barcelona or Real Madrid in the summer, do you go? Or do you want to play? Surely, after what he's doing this season, and if we qualify for Champions League, you stay, no? Who knows? Yeah. The maturity, the 28-year-old. Beast mode. If Fodis is worth 50, like the rabbits are saying, how much is Kostulas worth? That's different phases. Ioannidis we could have got earlier in his career when he was still at Olympiacos, and Jose Anigo proposed him to us. I think he managed him for a while at Olympiacos. Can we talk a little bit about Biancon and his beautiful crosses? I think you may have missed that a little bit earlier. I think we praised him for his distribution and the fact that he could have had 2 assists today if the El Kabi goal wasn't ruled out. But yeah, man, his crosses were beautiful. Beautiful crosses. I think somebody even mentioned in the chat earlier could play right back. I think he did Monaco for a little bit, or they played in a system where they had 3 centre-backs and he was the one that played on the right. He'd go forward and put those types of balls into the box. Good ball playing centre-back. I like him a lot. And we did talk about him. His passion for the club. He loves the club. He's very tight with Olympiacos. One of our patrons, Stefanos, in here was also saying how he was at the youth team's game against Inter, and he was listening to the team talk at halftime or there before the game. So yeah, man, he's very into the club. He's very, very loyal, very determined, good character. Some of the guys co-hosting this show got a chance to meet him. Nothing but good things to say. But guys, listen, it's getting close to midnight, Central European time. Wherever you're watching from, it's nearly 1 o'clock in Greece. People tuning in from Australia, US, Germany. Let us know. I always like to do this on the show. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Most of the people tuning in are from Greece. Much appreciated. Thank you for joining the community here at Thrylos International. This is a show by the fans, for the fans, in English. English being the most spoken international language. It's all about connecting Olympiacos fans from all over the world, Greeks abroad, Greeks in Greece, bringing everyone together, fans that aren't necessarily Greek, that have learned about Olympiacos, that want to learn more about Olympiacos and Greek football. So keep supporting the community, keep supporting Thrylos International. Tell your grandma about us, tell your friends, tell Yaya, Papu, those crazy English kids. not English. Like I'll get told off by the others. Born and raised in America, me being born and raised in the UK, living in Belgium. Nice European story. Anyway, my rant over. Thanks, guys, again for staying with us. Appreciate all the support that we get. Much love. And I see some comments coming in still. We'll be back again. Keep tuned with Thrylos International. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. There'll be more content coming, and since it is January as well, there'll be more transfer videos coming up, guys. So whenever there's some exciting news regarding transfers or in general, we'll be providing updates on transfer news, guys. So subscribe, hit the bell. Whenever something interesting is out there, you can be sure that we'll be coming to you to react. And also, if we learn things from our sources, again, we'll be sharing that information with you here on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on all our socials. All the details in below. Do consider checking out our Patreon as well. And yeah, guys, see you next time. I'm Costa for Thrylos International. Kalimera, wherever you are. Much love. See you next time.